Okay, to put it in the program, I'll press mode and pad number 6, which is our program mode. We have the program, which is Stone Basics, and here it says sample. Now we can have several samples in here that can be triggered at the same time. We can set the level, and we can also set the tuning and the range. Now, I'm going to cursor down. I'm right here in sample. So now I want to find the sample that I want to put here in this program. I'm just going to write pad. That's pad number 2. So I'm going to be on bank D, pad number 2. Okay. So I'll hold down my plus sign button. Or I can turn my data wheel. See that? Hold the plus sign button down though, it's less work. There we go, we're right there. And we're right on the sample. Now, I hit the pad. Sounds good. Let me turn up a little bit here so we can hear it a little better. And that's our patch phrase. You can tell it's EPMD beat, and that's patch phrase, PP number 3. Got that? Great. Now I'll press the main button again. So now I've got that sample in there. I've got my BPMs. I know it's a 1-bar loop. I just want to test to make sure it works. So now I want to put that sample into the sequence. So let's do that. Okay, now I want to hold record and then hit play start. I'll get my counter. I'll press click though. Let's go to F2, and we'll see here we have our metronome click. This is in record, the click is on, and in play, it's off. And we got a metronome click right there, as you can see right there, right? I'll close the window, and next, I'll press record and play start. Then I'll hit the pad 2 on the very first beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. Now I hit the record button to stop the click from going on. The overdub button was hit, and now we're good to go. And it loops in. Now what I want to do next is I want to move the cursor up to BPM. I want to change the BPM now. So you can see the sample is changing in speed according to this BPM parameter right there. So I can move faster also. That's a great way to pick a sample, and you can actually play it along with your track. And just adjust your speed according to what you want to adjust it to, see? And my original sample, it still works right here. Now, in order to make my sequence loop, what I actually do is I make sure I have a loop on. And here, you'll see, let me get my pen back out. Here it says loop is on, so that's why it's looping. It's going back on the top. Now, sometimes you want to extend the bars. That's just one loop. That's not going to be a whole song, actually. So what we want to do sometimes is do a sequence edit. We'll press the mode button and pad 12. And now we're here in sequence edit. This is the range. As you can see, there's an edit right here. Here's from, and here's the to, and this is the mode. Now here in copy, we can copy that range. We can move that range. We can transpose a range. That means if we're playing a keyboard or something and it's in the key of C, we can transpose it to whatever key we want to, D sharp, D, or whatever. We can also go to here. We can time shift that particular setting. We can change the velocity, the duration. So, in this case right now, I just want to copy this particular sequence first measure. And I want to maybe make 4 measures possibly. So, the range is from 1 to 2, right? It's sequence 5, it's track 1, and I want to go from track 1 to track 1, and I want to replace it. But I don't want to start from there. That's already a measure right there. So it says replace is where we start from, see? I'm not trying to replace. I'm not trying to merge. So I want to make sure I start from 2. Now it's only one measure. So nothing's at 2 right now. That would mean that if I did a copy and said yes, I'd have one copy. The first one, which is here, and the new one, which is going to take a copy of that and copy it to 2. Now I'll press do it. Operation complete. It goes back to our original main screen, and now it's 2 bars long. See that? I may want it longer than that. So the window button's opened. I can press window. See? And I can change it here. But if I do here, it's only going to change the length without copying the sequence. We don't want to do that. We'll close this. We'll press Mode, Sequence, Edit, which is Pad 12. And now we have 2 bars. And the last bar is starting with a 3. See that? So it's actually 1, 2, and the end of 2 is where 3 loops right back. So now, I've got the same thing set up here. I want to go to put at the end of 3, but I want 2 copies now. So I want to have 4 bars altogether. Operation complete. Oop, we got 6 bars. See that? Now that was wrong, right? I wanted 2, but I took 2 and I got 4 out of it. So you gotta always watch when you do this. Now if you do make a mistake and you're doing this, first we'll press play, start. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's back to 1 again. Now, that didn't work. Now I can press this window button. I can cut it down. I just want 4. And I'll press do it. And now we got the 4 bars we want. So we may have copied too much, but we brought it back down to 4. And that's how you can edit your sequence. You can add a copy to it. Now if we wanted to, we could also say, well, we want to change the duration of the sounds. Or we want to move it someplace totally different, maybe to a different song. We want to move it, take it out of that spot, and put it in a different spot altogether. Let's settle for transpose. We could shift the timing of where it's at. Now that shifting would be a shift in terms, let's go back to main screen, of our timing correction, which would be this timing, the shift timing right here. We would shift it over a little bit back and forth, either way we want to, with a plus or minus. Close. Now sometimes when the sequence is set and you have loop on, it's set to that particular length, you can actually extend the length. Let's say you're just practicing, for example, and you turn this off. If I press record and play, let's say I get a new track to record to, and I start recording this track here, and I get some sounds I want to record to. Let's say I get this here, I might use hi-hat. And it can extend it. I'll go to record and press play start. Just go on to 5. Now I press stop, it went 9 bars. So when the loop is off, it'll keep playing continuously while you're in record. So, be aware of that. I'll press play start. See that? So it went up to 6 that time. You notice that? And that's because before he went to 6 last time. So it still thinks that, well, we went to 6 last time, he's going to play it longer, we'll keep what we had before. And when it got past 6, nothing was there except for the hi-hat. So when loop is off, the MPC and you're recording, it can record on and on. It's important once you get started to probably name your track. So here, I'll press the window button since it's open when the cursor's right there on sequence, and I can go in here and name my sequence. I just got to press a button with a letter on it. And see, once you press that letter down, it just waits a second and goes to the next one. And now I'll press the left cursor and shift, and I can delete, and I can move the cursor to the right and get a space, and I'll call this EPMD. Now I'll press enter, F5. You see that? It says EPMP. See that? Sequence name. So you gotta be careful of that. We'll press close. See? That's what it actually is. EPMP. See that? Right there. Okay. Now, we have a track here. I just made a new hi-hat. So I named the track the hi-hat track. The window button's open, and we gotta always name our tracks here. So I'll just call it HH. I'll press the shift, delete everything else, and I'll press enter. This is HH right there. I'll press close. And that track's the hi-hat track. That way you know what you're doing. I'll press F3. We go to the first track. I'll name this track 2 next. Okay, so next, I want to show you step mode. We'll press mode, and we'll press pad 15. Here we're on step mode. Now I've got a whole new, you can select a track right here. I'll press F2, track 3. Timing correction, which is TC. I want to do quarter notes. So, what I'll do right here is so here, I want to do quarter notes. See that? That's good. And I'll close. Good. Now, I want to insert a snare drum, which is on pad 3. Next, what I want to do here is I want to press insert, which is F5. Now, insert event, I want to insert a note. I'll press do it. Now you step at it when you know where you want no notes are going to be, and where you know these notes are going to be, you move the sequence to that spot. For example, here I'm in 2. That's the second beat. See that? So I want to go to here. Let's delete that. Let's go here. So I put it in there. See that? I hit the pad, and now I have 2. That's B2. Now go back up here, and I want to go to 4. I hit the pad, and now I got 4 also. I want to go to 2, beat 2 on measure 2. Then beat 4 on measure 2. Beat 2 on measure 3. Beat 4 on measure 3. On measure 4, beat 2. On measure 4, beat 4. Now, move the cursor down. I can move it up here. See, now they're all there. See that? Each one of them there. 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. I put them all in. Now, I can press the main screen, and I'll press play start. And you hear the snare drum. So you can put your samples in, snare, kick, hi, or whatever. You can do it in step edit also. Now here in step edit, I'll press. Okay, now I want to press mode and pad 13 with step edit again. And I'll explain some stuff here. Of course, this is the location of that particular sample. This is the P for pad. That's bank A, pad number 3. 42 would be the MIDI note. That means we're going to trigger some MIDI note. It'll be MIDI note 42. Then right here we have T. Then here we have duration. And here we have V for velocity. Now here what we have going on is we have our, of course, location. Here's our pad. And then here we have T. This is tuning. I can hit the pad here. I can turn this up. Move the cursor down. So I can have different tunings for every instrument. See that? So that one piece, I have a special tuning for that one piece at this third measure, the fourth beat. I can change the duration. Now, it was a long sample. I could do this, but it's not necessary because it's only going to play for as long as its sample length is. It's a very short length. It's a snare drum. And the velocity can be set differently. I can turn this down. I'll press F6. See, it's lower. And here, it's louder. So I can change the velocity of every note that's here. Every snare drum. I can change the velocity of it. I can go back up here to the top and see I can have different things going on here for each one of them. Like, for example, here, I can change it back to 0 again, or go lower. See, it's like the right pitch I want for one particular section. So in Step Edit, we can edit the tuning, the duration, and the velocity. Okay, so now I've got my sequence. I got my loop, the hi-hat, and the snare. I've named this track here track 3. I can press my F button, F3, and go down, minus track, and I can see my first track is loop, second track's hi-hat, third track is snare. It's important to always name your tracks. I go plus sign again, and now I want to add a kick drum in this. And I want to probably play it in the sequence. Now, I want to set a particular quantized value. Now here for this kick drum, I'm pressing F1. I'm in timing correction. And I want to use a 16th note triplet, as you can see right there. Right? I'll press close. Now, to pick my sound, I'm going to go to Program, and I can select a program. Now, these are some of the basic programs that come with our MPC. I'm looking for a particular program that I want to use, and here it is right here. I want to find a right bass drum I want to use for it. Now, I've got that. I'm ready to practice and start recording this bass drum to the track. Okay, now I got my quantized set to 16 note triplets. See that? I'll play the beat. And that's what that is on that bass drum. Now, that's why you have to know what quantized value you're going to play a particular pattern at. Now, I'll press record and play start. Now, I'll turn off the metronome. Now solo it. Unsolo it. Just want to make sure it fits the pattern properly and it's in time with the loop. So it's important when you actually are making a pattern to know what your quantized value is. And set your quantized. That way, if you make a little mistake, the machine will correct it and make it match the quantized value that you set for it. Okay, now I've got a new track. I selected a new sound. So now I can record something else. I'll press time correction. I want to make sure I hit this time. I'm going to go eighth notes. So now I'll make sure my timing correction is correct. I'm going to go time correction. I've got it set here for 8th notes. I think I'll use 16th notes instead. I'll press close. Okay, now let's play something else. Okay, I'll press record and play start. That sounds bad. I don't like that. So what I can do is I can actually hit erase. And I can select the pad. Let's say this is the bad note here. I don't want that one to go, right? I'll press do it. And I'll press play from the start. Or I can say, well, look, I'll press erase and track 5. And I can say, well, look, we want to erase all these notes. I'll press do it. Press play. So some notes are still there. See that? And some are still there. See that? So we'll go to erase. And see, right here in erase, let's check this out. Okay, now I'm in erase mode. And then see what happened here? When I press the erase button, I hit those pads, the pads I want to erase. And they appear right here in the notes. That's cool. But it's only one measure. I want to change it to the maximum, which is 5. I'll press do it. I'll press play start. And they're all gone. Except for one, see that? So I missed a note. So it's important for you to know your notes. That one there, see? I'll press do it again. Now we did it this way so you can understand how to use the erase button. Sometimes you may have several notes, maybe doing a MIDI pad thing like this. We're using the synthesize section of a program and it's set up for a drum and we want to erase it. And you don't know which note you erase. Well, this way you got to make sure it's the right step, and you want to make sure also that once you press the erase button down that you have the right timing, when it's the whole entire sequence from one to the last measure. And you can erase the notes. We can also erase accept note. We can erase the pitch bend, the control change, and other MIDI parameters we can actually erase. Effect, tempo, see that? Real time, track mute. We can erase the track pad or pad mute. So other parameters can be erased also. So be aware of this when you are actually using the erase button. Now I'm going to try to record again. I'll press record, play, start. And I can hold down this erase button. Now I'm holding the pads down. See that? So I'm holding the pads down also by using the erase button. Erase button is held down, so the pads. I can also press record, and so record from top again, and I'll erase the entire section of this 5th track. Now sometimes I record, so I say, let me record something here. Now you see the button went to overdub. I can practice something. I can record it now. See that? Now we also have an undo button. We can say, oh, I don't know, undo that. You know, listen to it again. Maybe I want to hear it back. See how it sounds. You press undo again. Press play start. So we can actually do something, see if you like it or don't like it. We can undo it and redo again. Now sometimes I'm in a track and I say, well, let me go back to the top again. I'll go my bar. This is by bar. So I go one bar up, or another bar back. I may go by steps. And this all depends on what I've set in my timing correction to which step I'll be at. When I move up a step or down a step or back at the top in the step by step. Whether it's 16th note, quarter notes, eighth notes, or 32nd note triplets. Remember, I just overdub, we stop play, and are ready to start again. Now sometimes I'm doing the beat, I may like that and say, well, let me try something else too. Let me go to another track, and I'll pick a new part, and I think I'm going to do something I like to see. I'll use this here. Let me go, let's see. I got a repeat button here. See that? So this repeat button will repeat according to the quantized value. If you hold it down, you could change the quantized value. Now, see that? Now by holding this note down, I can select whatever quantized value I'd like and go to here and go to eighth note. 16th, 32nd, 64, triplets, 16th note triplets, eighth note triplets, quarter note triplets, or quarters. See that? So by pressing note repeat down, we get to see the quantized value. Let's look at that. Okay, now here I hold down the repeat button, and you see we can select the quantized value. Here's F1 is quarter note, F2 is eighth, F3 is 16th, F4 is 32nd, and I can make it triplets by pressing F6, and we can make that quantized value match. You can hold the note repeat down, select the sound, and you can record it according to the quantized value selected for it. Okay, now we're going to check out the program section. I'll press mode and hit pad number 6. Now here in program, we can select a program that we want to use if we have several programs in our system, or we can make a new program. Programs contain samples. You can hit a pad, and you'll see a pad name appear. The pad name will appear right here. That's A1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. You see the names appear. As I keep hitting the pad, you see the name appear there. Now for each sample in the sample program, you'll see the name appear here that belongs to that program. Let's say to that particular drum pad. If I hit that pad, a name will appear. Now here in program, where the cursor's at currently, we have the Stone Basics program selected, which is the program that came with our MPC5000. If you turn your data wheel or press the plus or minus button, once you do that, you can select from the programs that are already in our MPC 5000. As you can see here, we have Synth Programs and we have Sample Programs. We can also press our window button once the cursor's right here on Stone Basics, as you can see there. And with a program there, we could delete it. We can make a new program. Of course, close the window. We can copy that program. If we want to make a new program, we just go down to here, press New, and we'll be able to select our type, which could be either a sample program or a synth program. Now, synth programs are new in the MPC series. This is the first time they're making a synth program on an MPC. So you can actually make your own synth programs here. You can put your program name in, and you're good to go. Now here in Program, we have our sample mode, of course. Obviously, it's a sample program. It's a sample right there. We have different layers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We can actually stack samples on top of each other. We can hit a pad, let's say, for example, move the cursor down, and we could find another sample. See that? I put that sample there. Or this one.
5,000. 5,000.
So you hit the pad, it triggers the second sound simultaneously. And we can have more than one sound. We can have the 4 sound.
5,000.
See that? Go here again.
5,000.
See that? And we have selected 4 different sounds. We hit this one pad, which is A1, and we're actually playing all 4 of those sample sounds in the sample program. Well, we've got our sample there, of course. This is our Stone Basic program. Move the cursor over, and we have here, this is our level. This is our attack sample amplitude, actually. And you can press the window button, and we'll open up here to the amplitude, as you can see right here. We have a delay, the attack, the decay, the sustain level, our sustain decrease, and of course our release. Now, these are actually parameters we can set for our sample. In this case, it's a short sample here. I'll move here. You see, it's a delay. It means every time I hit the pad, it's delaying. And then I'm actually hitting the pad on the 1, on the beginning of it. See that? It's very top of that pad. Now here, the attack, we're hitting further into, we're not hitting the top of the sample, but the end of the sample. I move it back, keep hitting the pad, and we're hitting, and now we're hitting the solid piece right there, 0 attack. As you can see, we have this little graph which shows us exactly where we are here. Go through these items and check out different samples and see how it works with the amplitude of each sample you're going to try to work with. Now, it's always good to experiment, understand how this MPC 5000 works, and we're going to go further now with our tuning. Now, the next step we have here is tuning. So one thing I got to realize too, when you got that amplitude set, you can maybe have different things happening. At one level, the kick drum could do this. If you hit it harder, it does a certain level also. That's to do with velocity. Now here, we're on the tuning. We can tune it. Now here, this is a fine tuning. This is a coarse tuning. So if I move my cursor, see, we change the pitch of that bass drum. See that? And now it's up, see? Now even by moving it over here, though, I can move it faster. See that? So that's the coarse tuning, these first 2 digits. After that period right there, we have a fine tuning right here. We're moving smaller increments so you can adjust the actual pitch you want to get to. And once you're there, you're set. We're back to 0 here, as you can see. Now here I've set different samples on each one of these fields. Field 1, Field 2, Field 3, and Field 4. And we can set different ranges to trigger these samples. For example, here, I can maybe trigger the sample maybe at a soft hit. I might make that 30. Enter. And this one, I might make this one 40. Enter. And make the top range of it could be 60. You gotta press enter, see that? Enter first. I can make the top range of this 70. Enter. And then, with the cursor over, I might want to make this go to 90. And of course up here, I can make this 100. And make that 127. Enter. If I hit the pad soft, I can trigger this alien sound. A little harder. I got that sound. A little harder. Got the clap. And real hard, I get the kick drum. So the ranges are set to the velocity to how hard we hit the pads. So to sample up to play chromatically on all the pads and all the pad banks. And here's how it works. I have a sound selected here which is B5. It's called Alien. I'll hit that pad's B5. Now you move your cursor down here to the tuning section. The window button's lit. You press window. And here we have the pad and the name of the sample on that pad. These are pitch functions we have here. So here we can actually do velocity pitch. That means you hit the sample, it could change the velocity. So if I hit it soft, or hit it louder, or harder, the harder I hit, I can change the velocity. Or actually, the harder I hit it, the velocity changes the pitch. So the harder I hit it, or if I hit it soft, it changes the pitch according to how hard I hit the sample. Now also on this page we can go to auto. I'll press auto. And here we can assign this sample to all the pads. And the original key will be at bank A, pad 1, it'll be at 00, which will be this key right here. That's the original pitch. The rest of them will go up chromatically from that pitch. Now once I press do it, it'll do this whole procedure. Now I'll press do it. And now it's processing. It's taking its time. And it's actually, as you can see, it's sort of like doing a bunch of button moves here. As you can see, this is blinking. So it's actually putting them on all the pads. And once it's all done, it'll say process complete. And when that's done, I'll be able to hit a pad and see that? So you can actually have them on all the pads. Now I go to B bank, it gets higher. C bank, it's a little too high right there, but you get the idea. Okay, when C here also, we can actually use our mono or stereo voicing here. Bring the cursor right there. Two selections, either poly or mono. I've got this one sample, which you have on your machine also, which is C14 loop B. Hear that sample? I hit it one. See that? That's mono. Now, watch this. I'm going to turn this off here. I'm going to poly. See that? It plays over and over. I hit the pad over and over. Now I go to mono. I hit the pad over and over, but it starts from the beginning again. See the pad 15? That's poly. And pad 14 is mono. So you can set the amount of times it'll play the poly or mono for that particular voice setting for that sample. And here we also have the mute group. Now what happens in mute group, we can cut this poly stuff off. It becomes just like, for example, I have poly here. I can be at poly, which you saw earlier. I hit the pad several times, it just echoes like, you know, it plays again, starts again, but the first one keeps rolling on. But when we go here we set a target thing here. It plays by itself, it just keeps playing on and on like that, so it'll play this one time. It'll be like almost a mono sample. Because here in the mute target, this means other samples are set for it. So that means if this sample plays, and I hit that pad C14, and I may make another pad here, that same thing, which will say pad 15, and this one here will be a different pad. We'll say it's, no, we'll make it, this one 16. 13 rather. So I have these three pads, 14, 15, 13, and they're set to this mute group. So that means if I hit one pad, other pad cuts other pad off. See that? I can hit this group, it's off, I put mute on now, and you'll see this. So you see, you hit a pad, you gotta make sure that one's assigned to a mute group. So I hit this pad here, it's assigned to one mute group, see? So you have to assign your samples to mute groups. So what happens here is that this pad is assigned to a mute group, 1. If I hit pad 14, it cuts off pad 15. We'll see a little better here. Now as I hit the pads, it's a long sample, and it dies out. Watch this. That took over. It stopped the sample. It stopped that one. So they're mute groups. Let's say you had different bass sounds, like a sliding bass, a bass sound here, and they're all the same pitches. You could, you know, cut a sound off with a different sound. See that? That's how the mute group works. And we also have filtering here. We'll press F2, and we'll have filtering. So we got filtering, and press F2 right here, and we're going to zoom back in a little bit here. Just have to keep us in focus here. Here we go, that's good. And now we can see different parameters we have. We have low pass filter, we can change the filter there, as you can see, to a high pass or a low pass filter. I'm thinking the high, so I hit that there, no more highs there, see that? We have this 1-pole filter also. We have 2-pole, 4-pole, 6-pole. Some of the same filters we had almost in the 4000. Change these pole filters here. It looks like nothing's happening, but I'll do the resonance here. Watch this. And so you see the little graph here change to give us our resonance and what's going on here. You can change the attenuation here, and our frequency also. We can change, get lower frequencies. So the thing is, experiment with your sample and your sample sounds to get the right feel you want to get. And there are a lot of parameters in this new MPC5000. So you have to actually check it out and check how each of these parameters work. Now I pretty much know how low LFO works, low frequency oscillation shaping here, right here we'll have here. So there's certain things you can actually do, whether it's the rate, and whether it's going to be triangle, or saw up, or saw down. But you gotta be aware how these things actually affect the sound. Now sometimes it sounds like nothing's happening. See that? I did it. This has this noise effect here. So while changing the pitch and changing my wave file, I can actually affect the sound. I can even add filters to it. But you've got to actually experiment and see what works best for you to get a feel of how this instrument works. Okay, we also have here, we're at note. I'll press F3, and we can assign a note to a particular pad. I can hit this pad here and change the note of that. See? I can change that note. That means that triggering of that note. I may have a MIDI cable plugged in, and I could actually either receive that 61 or send it back out through MIDI. So in case you want to assign a particular pad a certain note, you can do that on this page. Now here we also have the simultaneous note play again. I'll go back to F4, and here we have simultaneous play. Now in the first page we can see here we can add other samples, and we can actually control the velocity through volume, and we can also control the tuning and the range of each particular velocity hit. We can control the poly and the mute group, but when we get to simultaneous, we have none of those functions. But we can actually add even more. 4 more samples can be added here in case you want to add them in. So when we hit that one sample, we could have 4 here, and go back to the first page of the sample page, we have 4 here. Now once the cursor's on the program that's selected, which says here, of course, Stone Basics, I turn my data wheel. And once I do, I can select the program. I want to try this synth program. I'll press F5 to select it. And now you see here, we are in the Synth Program mode. Now this looks pretty complicated. I must admit it does look kind of complicated, but it's a little easier than you think it actually is. And there are easy ways to tweak the setting of your synth parts on your MPC5000. Now the best way to go about this, you can see it's kind of set up pretty obviously. There are 4 faders and there are 8 knobs, which corresponds, so we have 8 knobs and 4 faders, which corresponds to our cue links. So if you want to actually affect some of these sounds, you can change the level on your cue links. Or either faders here, 1 through 4, or the knobs here. And you can actually change the parameters for these particular pages on our MPC5000. Now what makes it so cool, it makes it much easier to work with, is that you can just press the next page, which is the voltage controlled oscillators, and you can control the parameters for them through the cue link section. You can do it with the VCA, voltage controlled filter, or the voltage controlled amplifiers, or your low frequency oscillators. See this here? And this is all done through our cue links. We have our master also here, which is also done through our cue link. So you can understand how to run legato, do our random range, polytrans. So these are ways you can actually affect the programs that we make up on our MPC5000. Now here, for example, I can use these faders to affect the sound when I'm in the synth mode. That's a sustain. This is a release. I'm in basic, which is F1 in that mode. Low pass. Oh, that sawtooth a little more. See that? So I can actually, I've changed this sound. See that? Just the basic section. I have the voltage controlled oscillators where I can change it. And this is a saw. And this is also here, shaping it. See that? So we can actually change these sounds, these actual synth sounds that we have here. And the way to do it is to use this cue link section right here. Use this section along with each page that you visit. When you go to the basic or the VCO or the VCA or the VCF or the LFO. When you go to those certain pages, you'll be able to control the parameters, certain parameters that are marked off on that screen that you're on. And they all correspond to each one of these 4 faders, these 4 knobs here, and these 4 knobs here. Okay, now here we are in effects mode. As you can see here, we've got our effects. We have effects 1 and 2. And this is in bus 1 and 2, which is F1. We can press F2, and now you can see our effects there. We have F2, and this is 3/4. I've already set something up here. It was a little complex move. I'll go down to here and turn it off. See that? So we can actually send effects from here directly right into here. Now, F3, F4, that's FX 3 and 4, and that's F2. When we press F1, we have FX 1 and 2 selected. Now if you press F3, we get the master EQ out. This is on our master output, the output from our MPC500. Next to that, F4, we have our compressor output. We have our attack, release, threshold, ratio, our old school compression rate, and of course here we have the output. Now it's important to understand when you see these buttons here, and you see these knobs and faders, these all correspond to our Q-Link section. So the Q-Link section acts as our faders and knobs. Whenever you see these series of 4 faders, 4 knobs, or 2 knobs in this case, and 4 knobs up here, you know your Q-Link section controls it. You move your Q-Link and it can control the parameters for that particular page that comes up. Now here we have our master output also. We can also have our bypass button right there. We can bypass. Okay, now I'm going to press F1. Now here in F1, as you can see, this is our first page of our effects. We have effect 1. Here I have a delay right there. We can move our cursor right here to the delay, and when you're hearing delay right now, we can actually change the setting or the parameters of this delay. Let's check that out. Okay, here on the first page of our effects settings, you can see here we have delay. I move the cursor down, and right here I can just turn the data wheel, and now you'll see here we have the ability to effect edit. That means we can edit our effects. Now this first top row, of course, corresponds to the first top row on our MPC5000, the Q-Links. Q-Links 9, 10, 11, and 12 correspond to these top 4. Now in case I want to change the effect, I can just turn my data wheel one more time, and now I can select from dozens of effects I have here. As you can see here, up and down this range to none effects, no effects whatsoever. And we select an effect. We say, okay, this effect's going to work here. We'll use that effect. And once we select an effect, we select that effect. We're in sync. We say, great, we got an effect. We can use it. So here if I have a stereo delay, I can press, okay, select that. And we have our stereo delay right here. I'll press close, F4, and our delay is selected. Now we can also do here, we can have more than one effect per effect send. So there are 4. We have 1, 2 here on the first page, F1, and on F2 we have 3 and 4 buses. So these are bus assignments. It means that sounds come through these buses, which are effects. And so this effect 1, FX1, we have a delay. I can add another effect here. I move my cursor here where it says none, turn the data wheel. There's no effect to edit, turn the data wheel one more time, and now I can select an effect that I want to place there. I can put, say, this flange there, and I'll press select. Then I'll press close. And now we'll see we have 2 effects, a delay and a flange in FX1. Now here we have the assignment, where it's left and right. In this case, left and right's our master output. We can also assign it to 1 and 2 output. That's right through your buses, right to the back of the machine, or 3 and 4, or 5 and 6, or 7 and 8, or 1 through 8. So you can assign it either as mono, from 1 through 8, or in stereo buses, from 7 to 8, 5, 6, 3, 4, and 1, 2, or to the left and right output on our MPC5000. Now we also have here our effect going to effect. So we have effect 1 going to effect 2. Now if I turn this off, it's off, obviously right here, right now. Nothing's going on. If I turn it on, you'll see that this effect goes into this effect, which goes to this line here, which goes into this auto pan effect, which if there's an effect here, it would go to that effect. And then that would go to the output. So that effect was an auto tune. Auto pan right there. See that? I can select a different effect for that particular clap. Let's say I may want to do a mono sync or just a sync period, and I'll press select. Good. Now I'll press close, and that delay set right there. And our direct is on, as you can see here, direct on. Well, next I'll go to effect, hit the clap. So it's in time now. That's in time according to the tempo set up in the sequencer. We'll press main screen. And that's set to this tempo right here. See that? Now, I can go back by pressing mode and effect. Here I'm in effect again. And I can turn data wheel, press plus or minus sign, and I can go to Q10. I can make it a eighth note triplet. Now I press close, and I go to mix. So you can see we can assign that effect, and we can adjust the level effect, that send right there. Just turn this down a little bit from Q10, and we're good to go. Now we've already seen that we have, of course, okay, so now we're right here, of course, and this is our effects section. We'll go to F3. And now we're selecting the master EQ. This is the EQ in the output on left and right output on our MPC5000. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to turn it on. So, we're on now. And then, I think I'll play a track that's already in the MPC. We got to level a little lower so you can hear me talk and hear the music at the same time. Well, now I can use my Q-Link knob. I can use Q-Link number 9, add more bass, and turn this level up. See that? I know you can hear that. Or get rid of it. See that? I have increased the gain or take away from the gain from the bass, the low frequency here. I can apply it also here. I can go to the Q right here, see this? And get the right level I want, or actually the right EQ I want for this particular frequency. This is my low mid. And adjust it to the gain or take away that particular frequency I don't want to have in the lows, my low mid. I can also go to compression and change the compression of the output. Now in this case it's off. I'll turn it on. And I'm going to go to the output. See, output 24 here. I'm using Q-Links 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 here. Now I'll turn the track back on again. That output's too loud now, see that? Turn the old school compression on or off. See, it's not tight as tight before. I can get my attack, my release, get my threshold up, get my ratio up, compression ratio. Now it's really squashing the mix. And you can hear how squashed it sounds, right? So this is all happening on the output of the left and right channels on our MPC5000. So it's good to adjust these levels. This is so cool about the machine. You can actually get a strong compression output, and you can even pick whichever, frequency you want to get on that EQ, or get the compression to be just right of the attack. Check it out. It's important. Okay, next I want to check out the mixer. Okay, so now I can just press mode, and now I'm going to press pad 7. And now we're in the mixer section. Okay, now we're here in the mixer section. As you can see, there's a lot to do here, but actually it's pretty simple. It's a triangle area right here, of course, which corresponds to our Q-Link section. We can turn levels up or down here in this section, as you can see, by controlling our Q-Links 1 through 4 faders. Okay, we can also adjust the effect send to have a lot of reverb going on here right now. I can turn the effect down and hear the effect cancel. It's all out. So we can control the send, and that's with Q-Link knob number 9. We can also change the effect. We can use the Q-Link number 5 after button. Hit it a couple times. You can go through all the sends. We can have no effect send. We can have 1, 2, 3, or 4. Or I can go to, see that? Turn this up some more. The next effect, which is reverb. The next effect, which is a little bit of crunchy sound, where it sort of makes it really compressed and tight. So we can add the effects here in the mix. And this corresponds to each one of our tracks in our sequence section. So example, if I go to bank B, there's B bank. So every sound is bank C. There's C bank. See? It says C1, C through 16. And of course I can go to D bank and you see 1 through 16 in D bank. So these faders here and all these effects ends help us to control the sounds and add effects to each one of the sounds in that particular program or sequence. Okay, so we've got a pad here selected, as you can see, is 1. I can hit my window button and now I can see that I can change my settings individually for that particular track, whether it's volume, panning, send, the mute, the effect bus, or the output. I'll press close, pressing F4, and we're back to our main screen. Now I can go here to track mix, which is F2. And here in track mix, I can get the volume levels for each one of the tracks. See, these are tracks, right? You see that? This doesn't correspond to the pads. This corresponds to the sequencer. So the program mix corresponds to the pads. The track mix corresponds to the tracks in the sequence. You can have up to 64 different tracks in your sequence, so you can get the level of each track here. And also corresponds to our pad bank. So for example, we have A, then we have B, but that would be 17 to 32 tracks. Then C would be 33 to 48 tracks, as you can see here. And then pad bank D would correspond to the last 49 to 64 tracks. So in our sequencer, pressing the main screen again, we can have up to 64 tracks. So these tracks right here, the volume of each one of these tracks can be controlled in that part. I'll press mode and then press mixer again, pad 7, and I'll press program. These cover pads. As you can see, this is D. I go back here, now it says A. So these volume levels here control are for the pads. And these effects are sent to those particular effects from the pads. Those pads outputs. There's a dry sound and the effect sound, which is right here. Meanwhile, in the track mix, there are no effects. They're just pannings. You can mute that track or set the level of that particular track in the sequence. Now here I can press play start. Get my level. I can control some levels here. See that? Control levels here. I can select other tracks and turn them off. So I turn them off here. The levels are down. I go to here. So what I did here was that I know that these first 4 faders were going with these first 4 pads. So I hit the pad there. I can turn these levels up or turn them down for those first 4. The next 4 would be right here. The next 4 pads, here I'm here again. The last 4 right here. These correspond to the bank that I'm in, which is right there. I'm in bank A. So when mixing, these are the faders, and these control the volume level. Here, this controls the mute. This is Q1. And this goes with track 1, 2, 3, 4. Pads 1, 2, 3, 4. Here are the pannings. I can control the panning right here for that particular track. Here I control the effect and the effect send. So I can say we can have no effect, or we can have the effect on FX1 or FX2, FX3, FX4. Here I control the send. That means the sound. There's a bass drum here. I can control the sound and say, I want a little more reverb on that bass drum, a little less on that bass drum. This is the effect sound, this is the dry sound. So we're going to add effect on top of the dry sound here, right? And here on top, I can control the output, whether it's left and right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right here, I control the outputs right here. These are the outputs. And this section right here controls the selected section on our mix window. Okay, now I'm going to zoom back in a little bit, and you'll be able to see, let's see, right here is good enough. You'll be able to see everything. You'll be able to see everything right here. Now, I can hit these pads. I'm hitting now Q9, and I'm affecting the left and right. I'm going back left and right near. Left and right here. And left and right there also. And the faders work. See this? That's 13. Here's 14. I'm right here, of course. And so I'm affecting those with my Q-Link section. So the Q-Link will help us to move much faster rather than just turning the dial and moving the cursor knob over and moving the data wheel. The Q-Link section helps us to get a better mix and move faster in our mix. As we hear our sounds, we want to adjust those particular mix parameters to get the right mix. As we said earlier, we have our track mix. So if I have a track mix, I'll press play start. I can control the tracks here. See that? Those tracks are controlled with my Q-Link section, of course. I can get, these are tracks now. The beat's right there in track 1. Or I can mute that track and turn it back on. And so I'm doing all this right here. Or I can mute them. Or I can go back to my program mix and mute my pads. So it's important for you to understand when you are mixing to go between your program mix and your track mix, so you know what you're doing and understand how this MPC5000 works. There's a lot you can actually do with it, because you can control all 64 tracks through the track mix. And in program, you can control all the particular pads that correspond to sounds. So let's say this sound here. Well, on the MPC5000 mix window, it'll say, okay, look, this is the sound you've chosen. And we'll see that right now. Look here. You'll see it. And that's the sound I chose. See right there. That's it. Right there. So I can hit another pad. I'm right there. Hit this pad. I'm here. I'm here. I'm there. If I want to see that pad and see what's going on, I'll press open window and I can adjust the parameters for that particular pad in my program info section right here. Okay, next I'm going to cover MIDI. I'll press the mode button and then I'll press pad number 8. And here I have a MIDI screen. Move the cursor up. And now, as you can see here, we can control the active track receive channel. We can have all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up to 16. And we have multi. And we can have all. We can also use our soft through, which works in correspondence with our output as track, or Omni 1, which is A, B, C, or D, the 4 MIDI outs in the back, or A and B, or C and D. we also have our program change. So we can have program change right here. We can change. Okay, well look, if someone has MIDI data and sending out program changes, it will be able to change the programs on our MPC if it corresponds to that particular channel or track on our MPC. But it must correspond to the programs in our program section. And here we also have our pad to internal sounds. That means when this is on, you hit a pad, you're triggering a sound. When it's off, there's no sound. You're not triggering anything. So when actually triggering sounds here, and this is set to off, every time you hit a pad, you will not trigger a sound. Well, now it's set to off. I'm hitting pads, I got no sounds. I go back, I'll press mode, MIDI sequence, and now, so, remember, pad to internal sounds should be on. Now I'll select sync, which is F2. Now here in sync, we can synchronize the control of other machines on the MPC together using MIDI or MIDI timecode. Now here, this is our syncing in. I can select slave 1, 2, which is our inputs 1 and 2. We can select either MIDI timecode or MIDI clock. And we can also select here in the bottom, as you can see, the receive information. We can receive MMC, which is MIDI machine control. Now here in the sync out, we can sync out from the 4 outputs on the back of our MPC5000, whether it's A, B, C, or D. We can send the master clock information out to that particular machine we want to control, or we want to run in sync with. So this will be the master, and that machine will be the slave to that machine, giving it tempo changes, and of course, the tempo and the beat start. So here, right here, we'll see we have A, and we got B, C, D. We have A, B is our master, C, D, and then all masters. That means all the outputs, A, B, C, and D, will send the MIDI clock information telling the other machines, and maybe even that Pro Tools software, when we're going to start to sequence off. And as you can see, you have MIDI timecode and MIDI clock. But in MIDI timecode, we can also control frames, like you do with Synth timecode. We can control 24 frames per second, or 25, or 30 drop, or 39 drop. And of course, also, we can control our MIDI machine control here also. Now, F3. When you press F3 here, we have our default setting. This is set for general MIDI. As you can see here, it's set for general MIDI 2. So, if I hit a pad, this pad should be a side stick. This is our default setting. So in case someone has a MIDI machine, let's say they have a MIDI sequence, and it's set to general MIDI, and you have a particular program you're going to use, this is a default setting in our MPC, which is set for general MIDI. Now here, we're on our main screen now. Got that loop we took in the beginning. You'll see it's just one bar. So what I'm going to do now, I'll press stop. And what I'll do here is I'm going to press mode and press sequence edit, which is pad 12. Now here I can do several things. I can copy events. I can say I want to copy the events from this particular pad or this particular sequence. You can see here we can copy our events, whether it's copy, move, transport, shift, or velocity, which we showed you a little bit earlier. But in this case, I want to copy the bars. So I'm going to bars here. And I want to copy these bars. I want to copy the first bar and the last bars here. I want to copy it back to this sequence after bar 1. And I'll press do it. So it does, it goes back to here, and we see now that we've got 2 bars. I'll press play. Okay, we got a 2-bar loop. I'll press mode and sequence edit again. And I'm right here. I can also copy other data here. I can delete, of course, insert. But in this case, I just want to copy. And I want to copy, it's the first bar, it's the last bar. And I want to maybe make 2 copies. But hey, I can put on a different sequence. I can say I want to copy this data here to that sequence, which would be to sequence number 5. Make 2 copies of that data. Okay, I've got my sequence data here. And I want to make sure I'm going to go to the right sequence. So I want to go to sequence 5. It's a blank sequence right there, right? Now, I want to take bars 1 and bars 2 as the last bar in that sequence of 4. I want to copy those to 5. Now, as I copy the file to make sure I'm doing the right thing here, I'll make sure I want to do this after bar 1. So we got there, because 5 has no bars at all. 0 bars, right? This one 2 copies. So even let's go 0 bars. Because there's no bars after any bars I'm going to have it after. And I'll press do it. And now we got sequence 5 right there. Right? Now we see it's got 4 bars. And let's go back to sequence 4. And our tempo is 104. So to make sure tempo is right, which is 1040, enter. And let's press play. So, with the same sequence, now on 5 and 4. Now, we're going to explain how to use our song mode. We'll press the mode button and we'll press song, which is pad 15. Now here, it comes with a song sequence already, which is our demos. So I'm going to go to a new song. Of course, move the cursor over. I've got 2, it's unused. I can go here, this is very simple. I'll just select the sequences I want to use. Now, I've got some sequence set up already. I got this 4 copy. I want to use 4, then I'll use 5. As you can see, we just go right in order, put our sequences in. Here I'm going to use 7. I'll go back to 4 right here. And maybe I'll do 6 right here. I'll do 5. So you can see here we can put our sequences in, and it's pretty simple. Once they're in there, you see them, you got your sequences. And of course we have our tempos right here. Now here in our now field, we can also select, and we will see the now, which means I'll move the cursor there. We can move now, and now can become hours, minutes, and seconds. And this in terms of frames. See that? So in case you're doing some movie score or something, you want to be in sync with it, or you want to be in sync with some sort of film, or you're just doing some sort of sync and you want to see how long the song is. We can test it. This is a great way to do that. Now, what I normally would do here is I could go press play from the top. Each sequence. That's sequence 7. Now I'll press stop. Now what I can also do here is I can change the amount of repeats for each one of these sequence parts. See that? I can move the cursor over here. I may say I want this part to be more than, I want this part to be maybe 4 times in a row. So we can set the amount of times that this particular step repeats. And here it tells you how many bars we have in that particular sequence. So we know that right here, for example, we've got 2, 4, 2, 2, 4. So these are 2 bars, 4 bars in the corresponding sequence. Okay, while we're here in sequence mode, You can also have a sequence step. You say you want to make it a hold. You may want to say, let's hold this sequence, this one right here, until we actually press the sudden or the next. I'll press play. I'll press play start. So this here is going on right here. Now I went to this sequence right here, sequence 4. It's going to hold, it's going to keep playing that sequence over and over till I tell it not to. I can press the sudden. It will automatically go to sequence 5. Or I can press next. It'll skip 5 and go to 7. I'll press next, but play 4 all the way through. It went to 5, look at that. I can go sudden. I hit sudden and it went right to the next sequence. Didn't even stop to think about it. It said, okay, sudden. We're going to the next sequence. I hit sudden again. It stopped that. I'm going to sequence right here, it said. See that? That's how those buttons work. I'll press stop. So if I press sudden while it's in play, it's on a sequence, it'll automatically go to the next sequence. But if I press it and I go to a sequence, so we go to here, we'll press, and we're in hold here. If I press next, it'll play the sequence out, then go to the next sequence. Okay, also right here, here I am on the sequence at the top here. I'm in that sequence. I can press the window button. And of course, I can delete, which is F2. I can close the window, or I can press F5 and copy it. I like to copy my songs sometimes. That way, I know, let's say, well, I want to just keep it one way, maybe change another way. I'll copy this to 3, and I'll say do it. And here is 2, and here's 3, with the same sort of sequences. But I may want to switch up. I may want to say, okay, here I may want to just go twice there instead. Just to get a comparison and see if I found the right feel for the particular sequence I want to use. What we can also do here, we can move the cursor here to tempo and open the window. And here, if you want to ignore tempo changes or events, you may have some sort of tempo changes happening in the song, you can do that. Or you can fix their fix. This way we can make every sequence in this entire song all the same tempo. I'll cancel that for right now. And I'll close this. Now it's important to realize you want to make those sequences probably the same tempo. Make sure they're always the same tempo. As you can see, they are right there. They're all the same tempo. So I know what's going on with it also. I can also open this window. Let's close the window. Let's see. Let's close the window right here. And I'll press the window button. And here we can make a song into a sequence. So sometimes you got a song going on and you got some basic ideas probably. You may want to add something. You can convert a song into a sequence. And we have these track status. We can reference to the first sequence. Mute tracks ignored. We can merge on one MIDI channel. So these are different track status that we can do for each track. The track status of all those sequence can be converted into one long sequence. So you probably want to merge the MIDI channel data if you have some, and you want to probably maybe ignore the mutes or keep the mutes. It all depends on what you want to do with that particular sequence. And once we got a sequence going on and we like it, we may want to add something to it. Now let's check out hard disk. We can go to HD here and we can add audio tracks to the song. Let's do it. And here, as you can see in this window, we have the ability to add audio tracks. Here's how it works. This is 1 and 2. That's left and right. Left and right. See it there? And we can record in these 2 tracks. Those are the 2 inputs that you see in the beginning of our video. Let me show you the back of our MPC5000. And we can record up to 8 separate tracks. So here I have a... Okay, so now I have a bass guitar plugged in the back of the machine. I'm setting my levels up. I can see how loud I can be here. Let me turn some levels down if I want to. Get some more bass or not. See, I'm adjusting levels, and we can see what's going on here. That's good. Now, I've armed the track. As you can see, I pressed F5. It's armed. I can press right, but I'm actually in the left. As you can see here, that does say left, right? Right there. Good. Now, I'm armed for the track. I can press play start to practice along the track. Before I do that, I want to explain one thing. Okay, so I've got a bass guitar plugged in the back. And I can record onto that track. I've got the left track armed. As you can see, I'm testing my levels out right here to right here. Now, once I get the right level that I like, I can press record and play start. Okay, I've got my level set somewhat here. I'm testing my bass guitar here. Okay, we got a bass guitar plugged in. This is pretty cool. Now, I've got my track armed. See right there, it's armed. Now, I'll press record and play start, and we'll start recording. Now I'll press stop. And I can also record with a microphone. Now here, as you can see, as I talk, we've got some levels going on here with the mic. I'll turn it up a little bit. You can hear that. Yes, that's me. Okay, so we got some levels going on with the microphone here. And here's my mic. There's a mic right there. And you can see the levels going in. Now, I'm going to get ready to record. I have track view right here, see? And we can see our tracks. We can see track 1 and track 2. Well, let's say I want to take track 1, and I want to edit that track. I'll press edit. Now here I have several parameters. I have tracks 1 and 2. I have the ability to gain them. Here's how that works. Okay, so here I've got my track view, and now I'm going to try and edit it. So I select the track I'm on, as you can see right here. We selected it. And now I've armed that track. See that? So it's ready for editing. So I get there, I can press the plus or minus and add a little check mark there. And now I can press edit. Now here in edit mode, as you can see, I can do a gain on both tracks. See, 1 and 2 are selected. So since I've selected those 2 tracks for editing, I have the ability to edit each one of those tracks. And I can do it from the start point to the end point. I can pick my end point. We'll say 12 bars. In this case, I do a gain if I want to. Or, if I'd like, I can go back to here. As you can see right there, I can do a fade. I can set the fade to fade out from. Or a cut, or a copy, or a paste, or a normalize. Now in this case, I think I want to normalize my tracks. And I think we're going to do that right now. So we'll just press do it, and we'll be able to normalize these tracks. I'll press do it. And now it's going to normalize, get the maximum peak for each one of those tracks I just recorded on. Once it's done, you can see the level is pretty loud now. But you see here my view, I'm up to 9 there. See that? We're from 9. So I can go here to the now section, move the cursor up. Oops, let's go back to mode and HD. So now I'm actually at the beginning. See this here? Now I'm at the beginning of that track. I can move this along here, and you see we're moving here in increments to where we are. I'm at 7, and there's 7 right there. I can press 1, press enter, and now we're back at the beginning of our sequence here. We're at 1. See that right there? Now, I can press play, start. Okay, so I'm recording to a track on track 2. And you can hear me right there in the track. So you actually record audio tracks to our MPC5000. And we can edit them as you saw earlier. We don't set our range right here. This is our range. This is the range of the view. If you want to view, let's say 4 tracks at once, or just one bar of those tracks we're looking at. Maybe we just want to look at maybe 8 bars. Let's start view. I can take the view here to 2, and I'll press do it. And now we'll just see 2 bars at a time. See it there? We want to save some data. We'll press mode and press pad 3 for disk. Now here we can save and choose the type of data we want to save. For example, we can save the sample. We can save a program. We can save all programs and all samples. We can save just one sequence. With the cursor here, select the sequence. We can also save all songs in sequence. We can save the entire memory. And see below it is the item. See that? So let's say we go back to the top here. We can save a sample. We can go down here, move the cursor down. We can select which sample we want to save. That's in the database. Okay, once you've got the item you want to save, you don't want to select the destination where to save it. But it's important to note how much memory you have left. Like here, move the cursor down here, it says CF for compact flash card. Right here you'll see how much free space we have. Got that? Here on the hard drive we have free over 73.9 gigabytes. It's the internal hard drive. Here there's 0 free. This is a CD and the CD drive. Move the cursor back up here to CF, and you can select the destination folder in this case. For example, I move my cursor here, hitting the right arrow, and we can see the files that are actually in that folder. Move the cursor down. Oh, we turn our data wheel, and we can see, and you can see this little square right here where we know we're in the top or the bottom. That square moves down according to the bottom of the directory and back to the top of that directory with all these files. We can move the left arrow over and we're right here in the folder. So we can pick the folder you want to be in. If you want to record or actually save a file in a folder. Then right here, these are the files that on this compact flash are our Sample Kings files. So if I wanted to make a new folder to save something to, let's say for example, I wanted to save an entire sequence. I'll move the cursor up here. And here we go, right here, I may want to save all samples and all programs or sequences. So in this case, I think I'll just save a program. So save this program here. I'll set the program I want to save, because most of us do save programs with samples in them. I'll say it's Lin 9000 program. Now, I can even make a new folder. You hold down the F5 key, and here we have several options. We can copy this from where it's at to someplace else. We can delete it where it's at, which is F2. We can rename it, which is F3. F4 is new. Select new, and now we have a new folder. I can name that folder and put it in the destination I've selected, which is already compact flash. I'll leave it new folder, and I'll press enter. And see, new folder came up. I can press do it, and then it asks me save a program, save with samples. I can save it with samples. I can save the program only. That means there'll be no samples at all in that program. The next selection here is replace same sounds. I can replace the same sounds. That means if sounds have the same name, it'll say, well, I don't know if you want to change it or get rid of those sounds. So if they have the same name or the different sounds, or you re-edited those sounds and they sound better, it's better to say yes. Or no, that way you won't waste time having to save the entire file. And we can set a program format for a 5000 or a 1000. We can press do it, and now it's saving those files in the new folder. And see, we see here the free space. Now, this is the free space that was on that compact flash drive. Now those sounds have been saved over there. And they're saved in our new folder. See that? And here we can see the new folder, see? We're in the compact flash card. And there's the new folder right there. I can move the right arrow and we'll see what's in that folder. Hit the left arrow, right back there, and here we are, the compact flash. So I move left by hitting the left arrow on the compact flash. I hit the right cursor once. I see the folders that are in that compact flash. Move to the bottom there, I see my new folder. I hit the right cursor one more time. I can see the files that are in that folder. Now we can also load up sounds, of course, with our MPC5000. Now this is accomplished pretty easily. We have a ROM flash, and whenever you turn your machine on, there's this thing that you have, this auto load, and this auto load will load these files up. See that? This is auto load right there. That's the auto load that we have. Now here, I have the compact flash card. I have the hard drive, of course, the CD. I can even load from a CD, which is very cool. So here, what we have right here in our compact flash drive, I can see that the free memory that we have here, and I can go over here, and you can see these files. See this here? I'm going to go back down to the file I just saved, which is called the new. See that there? It says new folder. I move the cursor over and don't see anything in there because the view is for folders. So you gotta make sure the right view. I'll move the cursor back up and it says project. There's no project in there. Now project corresponds to entire memory. If you want to save the entire memory, name that entire memory as one project. You may be working on a song and you want to save the entire memory. Input through, which means it would cover the input through section. That's the setting for that section. Whether you have phono on or mic on or input through, that setting there would be saved. And you can reload that setting also. And that setting is always saved with the entire memory. When you save the entire memory, you also save the input through file. So we're looking for what, see, here it is. We got a view now. Now this new folder is what we're seeing is what's on here, the samples. So we selected samples for the view, and we can view all the samples. We can view the program. So once you find an item you want to load, you move your cursor to it. I'll load this program back up. I'll press do it. And with samples, yep. And replace same files in memory? No. I can press do it. Or I can clear the entire machine out. By pressing F2, it'll clear the entire machine and load this whole new program in. I'll press do it. Program name exists. Replace or rename. I'll just replace that program. And now, see how fast it loaded the program back up because the files were already in there. It loaded the program data, and it saw that the same WAV files were in there. So next, I'll hit F3, and we've got utility right here. Now here we've got our function. Now auto load. You can auto load a project up. In this case, as you can read right here, the MPC will look to the selected device and automatically load the contents of the folder named auto load. So you can name a folder called auto load, put it, on whichever device you'd like to put it on. For example, you can put it on your compact flash card or your hard drive, maybe even your CD. Make sure the file's named auto load and look for it and say, okay, we want to load that up. And here in load, you'll see that it's the CD-ROM that has that file. I'm over here with CD-ROM says auto load right there. See that? So it actually auto loads those files up. I'll press F3 again. We're back here where we're supposed to be at. And you'll notice here, of course, it says auto load. We can auto load internal memory. We can auto load. Now here I can move the cursor down, and we're here in auto load. We can simply auto load internal memory, the hard disk, or the compact flash card. See that? So you put an auto load file. So you're working on a project, and you got something you're working on. You want to have it automatically load. What I normally do is call that folder auto load, put the project in the auto load folder. When I turn it on, I'm back to working with the project I was working in before I turn the machine off. It's a fast way to get started again, and it makes it much easier to get back to doing what you were doing. Now we can also use a USB cable, press F4, and we can use a USB transfer mode. And here we can transfer maybe files, or maybe you made a loop up on your computer in Pro Tools or Logic or with Recycle, and you want to load those files back down to your MPC to use them. Hook up a USB cable, hook it up, connect it to it, and you could mount that computer. And then when you get through, we just unplug the cable and dismount from the computer. Of course, we can transfer our files to the MPC first or transfer them back to the computer, either way. Okay, say for example we want to delete a file. I can go to Edit, hold Edit down, and press Delete, which is F2. Now here in this case, I can move over to the right, move further down to that folder I just made. And if I want to delete a folder off of this compact flash, I'll hold the Edit button down, which is F5. I'll press Delete, and it says here, press Do It will delete the folder and its contents. I'll press Do It. And now we're deleting that folder off of that compact flash card. And you can see now it says deleting. Let's say I wanted to save the entire memory, the entire memory of the entire machine. I'll press Save Entire Memory. I'll press Edit. I'll press F4. I got a new folder. I'll press Save, keep the name, Enter. And we have a new folder, of course, right? And I'll save entire memory. So now I'll press Do It. And it's called Project now. And now it calls it a project. So if you've got an entire memory in the machine, say you've been working on a song, it's all fresh, you want to save it, this entire project, to that project in that folder. And replace files, I could replace the same sounds, yep, it says no here, and make new folder, no, it's already made a folder. Press Do It, and now it's saving that entire project into this folder for you. And when it's done, it'll be in that folder called New Folder. Now once that project is saved, you'll be able to see the files. You see the top file there. Here we got the project. See that? That's the project file, which would be the name of the project. Say we're on a song, the name of the song would be there. Below that we have the song. We have the all sequencing songs is saved also. We have all the files, all the WAV files. See this? All these WAV files have been stored. Plus you'll see files that go by that say 50 on them, and those files will be the program files for the 5000. See this one here says Lin50S. That's the program file for the 5000. And these files have been saved right here onto the drive. Now this is one file I want to show you right here. This is an IPT file. That's your input select file right there. That means your input through, your mono, your input through, that section is saved. And so it will load also at the same time when you load back up this entire project file.